Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Experience podcast, inside the business, buzz, and brilliance of Black entrepreneurs. Here is your host, Dr. Frances Richards.
This is a bonus episode. What happens in Vegas goes all over the world on Black Entrepreneur Experience, episode number 234. Subscribe to our mailing list to receive weekly updates and exclusive content delivered right to your inbox. Go to drfrancesrichards.com. That's drfrancesrichards.com to subscribe to our mailing list and be entered into our monthly drawing. That's drfrancesrichards.com, drfrancesrichards.com to subscribe to our mailing list and be entered into our monthly drawing. We promise we won't spam you or sell your information. Thank you for joining us as we elevate the Black entrepreneur experience by interviewing CEOs, thought leaders, innovative thinkers, and Black entrepreneurs across the globe. I'm your host, Dr. Frances Richards. Our next guests have over 15 years experience in wealth management for retirees, high-level executives, celebrities, and business owners. Welcome, Andrei Hall, president of Hall Wealth Management Group.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here today.
I've given our audience such a brief bio. Why don't you fill in the gaps and share with our audience what you would like them to know about you and your business?
Well, Hall Wealth Management, as you said, is a boutique comprehensive financial planning organization. And basically, we do comprehensive planning, money management, and insurances. Basically, we have been in business over 17 years. I'm in Irvine, California. I enjoy working with people who want to be part of the process. It's quite frankly not as good when the person wants to just totally disassociate themselves and have me do everything. It works out so much better when we're working together and working in concert.
Wealth, money, finances, that's ringing a good sound in my ear. Talk about that story and tell us about that journey and how did you get into that field?
I came from the corporate world. As most Blacks in the 70s, we were striving to get into corporate America. I got into Xerox, worked my way up from sales rep to different management positions, eventually a vice president. I handled large business groups worldwide. I had online marketing worldwide. And the thing about the corporate world is that you end up traveling a lot. You end up sitting in meetings a lot. I spent in 4 years, a 4-year span, I spent over 200 days a year in hotel rooms. 2 million mile flyer on American, 2 million mile flyer on United, and 1 million on a couple others. At a certain point in time, it hit me that I was tired of that traveling. I was tired of sitting in meetings. You could sit in meetings for 8 hours. And quite frankly, because there's so many competing positions, you end up accomplishing nothing. And that happens all the time in all major corporations. And I decided it was time for me to branch out. Also, the other defining moment was my wife was pregnant. I was coming back from a trip, a 3-week trip in China. I spent a lot of time in the Far East, Europe. This time it was China, Singapore, Korea. And the SARS virus was just being discovered, announced, and everyone was concerned about it. And so she was pregnant. So when I came home, I had to stay in a hotel room. And I also, while I was in that hotel room, started thinking, new kid on the way, do I want to spend most of the year away from him, or do I want to be much more a part of his life? And I decided I wanted to be much more a part of his life. I looked around and said, what do I have a passion for? And this is what I decided I had a passion for, and that is helping people. I took him to school every morning. I picked him up from school every morning from kindergarten to the 11th grade. Then he got his license, and I haven't seen him since. But I really enjoyed those years Did we always talk? Did I implant words of wisdom on him? I talk to him now and know I didn't implant any words of wisdom on him because nothing I do is right. And he tells me all the time, you don't know what you're talking about, Dad. You used to stop at phone booths. And so, yes, I know I used to stop at phone booths, but I do know a little. So that's how I decided that it was time to make a change. And I've enjoyed every moment of it. And it's been very, very good to me and good for the family.
Speaking of SARS, and now we're in the middle of another pandemic, what advice would you give from a business perspective?
Well, you know what? It's just common sense advice. I mean, I think we all know the things we got to do, which is, I wish I had something, that was going to be profound or whatever. But when I go out, I wear my mask. I have a face shield. It's over there. So I have my mask, my face shield, and my gloves. When I go to the store, I don't go without gloves. I don't go without a mask and a face shield. And quite frankly, I haven't had anyone in the office since March. All of my meetings have been done through Zoom or GoToMeeting. And that's how I've run my business since March. And it's been very good.
Andrei, who is your ideal client?
My ideal client is someone that wants someone to work with them to help enhance not just retirement, but leading up to retirement and in retirement. Most of my clients are age 55 and over, and they have a good idea of where they want to go, but they're not sure how to get there. And it's my job to help guide, coach, and put in the processes that enables them to get there. It's like most of the time, people can come up with grandiose plans. But the question is, what are the steps to success in getting there? So you got to have steps, this, and that. And you got to be able to track them. And you got to be able to say, okay, this one didn't work right. So how do we backtrack and take the next step? And so I really look at putting in place steps to success. And my ideal client is someone that will take that coaching and counseling and at the same time want to be part of the process. And they are business owners, small business owners, professionals, and retirees, or the majority of my clients. Do I have younger clients? Absolutely do. I have some younger clients that are 40 that say they want to be retired by 55. So we work on the plan to get there.
What is the best decision that you made as a leader?
The best decision I made as a leader was to step back and understand I don't have all the answers. And once upon a time, I had a boss once that told me, Andrei, you're usually right. But at the same time, you can't win all the battles. You got to let other people win some of the battles. That's number one. Number two, you got to step back and listen more to your people. And that was very early in my management career, back in the early 80s. And so I learned from that conversation, and I've always learned to listen because, quite frankly, I don't have all the answers. And I listen to what people are saying, and it's amazing what people that you work with, what comes out of their mouth, and from a different perspective, something you never thought of. And because no one person has all the answers, and quite frankly, there's no one way to do in everything. So you got to be open-minded, something I've learned.
You mentioned the word listening. What is that resounding sound or message that your generation is saying?
Basically, when you say my generation, I think this is one where it should span all generations, because I don't have all the answers and my 17-year-old doesn't have all the answers, although he thinks he does. Matter of fact, he told me that again last night. You don't know, Dad. But when it comes to listening, You got to be open-minded. You cannot have a closed mind. You have to be respectful of other people's opinions. And you will gain so much from listening to other people and not just listening to yourself. And that's something that I have. It's not that complicated in that sense. I mean, you just have to be open-minded enough to listen to others. You have to be open-minded enough to, sometimes you got to read. Sometimes it's just like this podcast. I'm going to come away from this podcast with you and I will learn something. I absolutely will learn something. And so you just have to have your mind open enough whereby it can take in the things that are being fed into your mind versus saying, I got all the answers. Because no one has all the answers. I don't care if you're Bill Gates or Bozo, no one has all the answers. So we have to all be willing to listen. And some of your best leaders, like a Howard Schultz at Starbucks and whatever, I mean, they learned a long time ago to listen. And that's why they became as large and as wealthy as they did, because they were willing to listen.
If you could change one thing, what would it be?
If I could change one thing, the one thing that I realize now is that I should have left the corporate world after about 10 years. I had gotten, quite frankly, by then, I had gotten as much training in the corporate world that I needed to go out and do my own thing. And the thing is, though, you get so, quite frankly, I was comfortable. You get so comfortable, you have a good income. And by the way, that's another issue. When you're in the corporate world, you're a W-2. And I don't care if you make $1 million, basically by time, if you live in a state like California, New York, even some southern states where I have clients, you're going to have 500 to maybe, but under $600,000 left after taxes. If you make $1 million as a small business owner, quite frankly, you're going to figure out a way to keep $1 million or close to it. You can't do that when you're a W-2. And quite frankly, I have people that are very high levels in a number of corporations right now. And when I talk to them, they say, man, I've had 12-hour meeting days all week this week. And we did our fourth quarter budget. And this is the first quarter, and it's already been cut by 30%. So I can't do any of the things I had planned on doing. I mean, it is plan, replan. And yeah, we all have to make adjustments. I have to make adjustments, but it's different how the adjustments have to be made when you're in corporate America, no matter what level you're at. I mean, I'm talking about levels right next to the CEOs of major corporations, and they have to make those adjustments. And so if I had it to do all over again, I would have left corporate America after about 10 years and gone off and done my own thing. Xerox, where I grew up at, they had a program called Agents. And the guy that was running it at the time tried to talk me and this other person. We were what were called district managers at the time. And I had like about 400 people underneath me at that time. And there were about 50 or 60 district managers in the country. And that's sales, marketing, and service. He tried to talk us into opening up agencies, and we resisted. I had a couple of guys that worked for me, and we were getting rid of their outlying territories and putting in agents. I talked them into becoming agents. Those guys ended up with about worth $40 million. And it really boils down to, you got to be willing to take some risk. Do I take risk now? Yes. Did I take risk moving up the corporate ladder? Yes. But I wasn't willing to take that risk to move out on my own back then. And that's what I wish I had done differently. Maybe not necessarily that opportunity, but I should have left after about 10 years.
Andrei, Thinking about pivoting, shifting, and leaving, talk to someone in our audience. They are working for corporate America, and you had mentioned that you would have left 10 years earlier. What advice would you give them to prepare to make that exodus?
Well, first of all, you got to decide what you are doing, what you have a passion for. And that's number one. Then you got to decide where's the market and the opportunity, and to come up with that business plan, and inside of that business plan, the marketing plan. And then you got to figure out, how do you come up with the capital to start that business? And so what I would tell someone is that if you have a good idea, go with it. We all fail at things, okay? You can't beat yourself up if you fail. I failed at, I had a coffee house on the side. While I started at Ameriprise, I left Ameriprise and then started my own company in 2007. But I was at Ameriprise in 2004. The coffee house was on the side. I didn't spend any time there, but I always wanted a coffee house. Okay. I enjoy walking in there. I spent about 20 minutes a day there. And you can't spend 20 minutes a day in a retail. You're going to have a lot of slippage, things going out you don't know about. And so, quite frankly, it failed. But it was a lesson learned. And it cost me a lot, well over $1 million. But if I had it to do it over again with my clients, I talk to clients all the time and have them closing up businesses or closing up a part of the business. But I was my own advisor. And so I had a fool for a client, because what I would tell my clients, I wouldn't tell myself. And the only thing that different is not that I would have never started the coffee house. I should have closed it up 2 or 3 years earlier than I did. And so that was a lesson learned. But my whole point is, you can't be afraid to do something, because quite frankly, unless you get up to CEO level or right below it, you're never going to be rich. Okay. I shouldn't say you're never going to be rich. It's possible. You can do other things, even if you're in corporate America. But at the same time, most of your rich people are entrepreneurs. And if you can come up with something, come up with the right business plan, the right enablers from a marketing standpoint to make it successful, something that you're passionate about and really enjoy doing, then go do it.
Andrei, let's talk legacy. When it's all said and done, how do you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered as a good person, someone that helped a lot of people. I want to be remembered as someone that had quite frankly, I got to say this. One of my bosses at Xerox always used to say, "You're too nice." I mean, he emphasized because he was hard. He wasn't nice to me. He was a great boss and I enjoyed him. But he would always say, "You're too nice." I enjoyed helping people then. I enjoy helping people even more so now. And what I would like to be remembered for is that I was someone that you could count on, someone that had a good heart, and someone that was always there to lend a helping hand. With my son, my goal and my legacy with my son is, I gotta make sure he ends up being an honorable man. That is my goal. That is my number one. I don't care whatever else, how successful he is, making money or whatever. I want him to be an honorable man. And hey, money will probably come if he's an honorable man. But that is number one that I always beat into him. But then he says, "Okay, Dad, I guess you're just going to support me for life." And I say, "No, I'm not either. You're a senior in high school now. You're 17. I'm kicking you out of the house. Depending on what you decide to do with college or in sports and whatever, you're going to have to make some decisions, because he's gotten too comfortable. And that's my fault." And we as Black people coming from my generation kind of had it probably kind of hard, most of us. I grew up, my father was in the Navy, and they didn't pay anything for people in the service back in those days. I can remember eating lima beans for 4 straight. Lima beans and a salad was a piece of lettuce. I didn't know anything else came with a salad until I was 18. The only thing I knew that came with a salad was a piece of lettuce. And it didn't have any dressing on it. It was just a piece of lettuce. And so, he taught me so much. He was my stepfather, but he raised me from about 5 years old. And he taught me if you were going to be successful, you were going to have to go out there and challenge the environment that you're in. And you're going to have to go out there and make it happen yourself. I can remember asking him for money for books for school, my first year of college. And he says, remember a couple of years ago when you were more aggressive and you used to mow lawns? That lawnmower is still in the garage, and it was a push mower. One power. I never had a power lawnmower. It was a push mower, and it was still in the garage. So my first year of college, I made my book money mowing lawns. And I can remember some days when I didn't have a ride. I normally had a ride with friends, but sometimes, things don't work out. And I had to walk to school. And that was a 15-mile walk each way. And that's what I did. And so I didn't realize how much what he was implanting in me obvious until later on. So I'm hoping my son gets it too eventually. But if I had talked the way my son does sometime, I wouldn't be alive today. So, because my father would have knocked me out, and one of those punches probably would have put me in the box. So, I always say to my son, I wish my father unfortunately had an operation, and they had him up and walking in the hospital, and he had a blood clot, and before he hit the ground, he had died. But I always say to him, my 17-year-old, I wish your grandfather was alive, because he would slap you upside your head and things that I don't do, and I should do, but I don't. And you would be a different kid.
Andrei, what can we do right now to support your business?
Well, what you could do, right, to support my business, obviously, I'm always looking for good clients. I'm looking for people that have investable assets of 500,000 plus. I'm looking for people that want comprehensive financial planning. Those are the two main areas. Comprehensive planning and money management is 90% of my business. 10% are insurances, life, long-term disability. But basically, to support my business, I would love from this podcast for anyone that wants a consultation, which would be a 30-minute consultation at no cost, to reach out, and we can talk and we can figure out if I can help you, if it's right for us to work together or not. If it's not, I'm going to tell you. If I can't help you, or if I don't feel it's right for us, we're the right match, or that at this point in time, I can't do anything to really help you, you're going to get that message. And so as far as how anyone could help my business right now, it really boils down to, if you, in fact, you need help with planning, with managing your assets, looking at retirement, sometime either in retirement or getting closer to retirement, I'm the person that you should talk to. I'm part of a group called with Ed Slott, who is considered the #1 IRA guru in America. I'm part of his group. There's about 300 of us, and we get comprehensive training. We're trained monthly, was twice a year, 3 days in person. Basically, this training really helps us become the distribution specialist, the best in the country at distribution of assets. And when I say that, it's all about minimizing taxes and maximizing what you keep. Because so many times we make a lot of money, but we don't keep what we make. Also, how you distribute your assets in retirement is going to have a significant effect on how long they last and taxes along the way. So basically, I'm an expert in that. I'm a certified financial planner, charter retirement planning counselor, and several other designations.
Andrei, you mentioned for the audience to reach out. Can you tell them the best way to connect with you?
The best way to connect with me, I'm going to give you 3 ways. One is my website where you can fill out a contact form. It's HWMG, Hall Wealth Management Group, but it's HWMG-LPL.com. Again, HWMG-LPL.com is my website. Number 2, my office number is 949-222-6401. Again, 949-222-6401. And because of the pandemic, obviously I don't come in as often anymore. Even though my office number rings on my computer, I still, quite frankly, haven't gotten used to answering the phone on my computer. So I'm going to actually give out my cell number, which is dangerous, I know, but 714-931-3632. Again, 714-931-3632. So those are 3 ways you can get in contact with me. Also, let me just give out my email since we're at it. So that'll be a 4th, which is Andrei, A-N-D as in Deborah, R-E-I .Hall at LPL, LarryPapaLarry.com. So again, I'm going to repeat it one more time. Andrei, A-N-D as in Deborah, R-E-I .Hall at LPL.com.
Andrei, I want you to speak to a person in your lineage that has given you the most profound advice, and you're going to have a monologue. What are you saying to this person, and identify who that person is?
Well, you know what? It's interesting. I mean, I've been associated with a lot of leaders in the business world. I've sat around the table at meetings with Michael Dell, Bill Gates, etc. But it would be my father, my stepfather, who had a 12th grade education and didn't graduate because he joined the Navy. He was in World War II, the Korean War, and Vietnam. And just a little background, I was on my way to Annapolis out of high school, but he sat me down and said, you know, son, even though you can get in, they're not entirely ready for you yet. And so that was the conversation my stepfather had with me, someone that had been in the Navy most of his life. The things that he implanted on me was, and this is probably why I stayed in and I don't know if I'm answering the right way, but this is why I probably stayed in corporate America so long, and that what he implanted on me was hard work, never quitting, see it through. And the kind of conversation we used to have was that when a couple of times I was thinking of leaving Xerox, he would walk me through and say, remember where most Black people were 15 years ago, and so on and so on. And look at where you are now. You make more in 1 year. These are his words to me. You make more in 1 year than I made in 20 years. And so he never saw, even though he was my guidance counselor, he was the person that I didn't think about it at the time that I really looked up to. He said, why would you leave? Now, my mother, who had a 10th grade education, said, leave. And I got to tell a little joke. The only thing, my mother, unfortunately, she had Alzheimer's and dementia. She passed away in 2017. The only thing that I love my mother, obviously, like most of us do. I loved her so much. The only thing that made me mad was she used to make me this 5-layer coconut cake on my birthday. She never gave me the recipe when she could remember still. And then while she had Alzheimer's and dementia, she would always talk about, I'm supposed to give you that recipe for the cake, huh? Well, let me think, and maybe I'll think. But eventually, she even forgot to she got to the point where she didn't even remember anything about a cake. But the point is, question you started with, and again, I may not have answered it the right way, but the conversations that I had with my father are the things that shaped where I am today. And my father and mother, really. Even though I knew a lot of educated people, a lot of people that at very high levels, they were the ones that were most important. Their opinions were the most important to me.
Andrei, you answered the question perfectly, and thank you for sharing the amazing story about your mom and dad and our sincere sympathy for the loss of both of your parents.
Thank you.
Talk about your most memorable moment in life or business.
Birth of my 17-year-old, my most memorable moment. Forget business, forget all of that stuff. I always tell my clients who say, well, I want this amount and that amount. I say, you know what? We got to look at and figure out how do we enable success in retirement. But at the same time, quite frankly, I need money. We all need money. But money in and of itself is not going to bring you happiness. I always tell them Steve Jobs would trade places with us any day. And because he had all the money, basically, especially at that time, even though, these other guys in these later years have gone to astronomical levels when it comes to billionaires, but he would be right there too. And he couldn't buy his health. He couldn't buy his life with the billions he had. And so, and I kind of maybe lost the point a little bit. Tell me again where you wanted me to go.
You pretty much answered it. I said, what was your most memorable moment in life or business? And you mentioned the birth of your 17-year-old.
And that was it. I got to tell you a couple of, I always like to do a couple of funny things. And I think that's where I started going wrong. When he was about 2 years old, if I was holding him and I sat down, he would look at me and scream and holler until I stood up. And I think he learned then that he could control me. And I look back and say, he didn't know what he was doing, but it has continued through the years. And so it's something that, but that was the happiest day of my life.
What, if anything, is keeping you up at night?
The only thing keeping me up at night, business doesn't keep me up at night. It just doesn't. I've learned a long time ago to let those things roll off. The thing that keeps me up at night is when my son is out late. And I'm praying that he comes home safely. Both, as we all know, as Black parents with a teenage boy, you worried about him being stopped. You worried about him being in accidents. And there's the good and the bad. He's not a kid that's going to back down. I don't care who it is, whether it's the police or anyone else. And, I have to drill into him. And I have friends that are officers. I have them drill into him what to do when he stopped. He's one of those that I understand if I'm doing something wrong, but if I'm not doing something wrong, why do I have to take it? Because they're in control. And I remember going to traffic school many moons ago, probably when I was in my early 20s. And the cop up there teaching the school said, I think I asked the question of, there's another car going faster than I am. Why did I get stopped? And he says, because we're in control. And as much as we may not like it, when you're a kid on a dark street or something, or there's no one else around, it may not be a dark street, but no one else is around, you can't be challenging, quite frankly, as a Black male in this environment. So what keeps me up at night until my kid gets home?
And that's real talk there. Talking about wealth and management, let's talk about capital. How did you raise capital to start your businesses?
Well, you know what? I use my own money. But the one thing I would say about Trump, and I don't know about political affiliations or whatever, he never used his own money. Because most of his own money he lost. So he never used his own money. So there are things that you could do in this day and age. Sometimes it's a little tough. You got to go to friends and family that believe in you, and you got to give them a good reason to believe in you. Just because they're friends and family, they shouldn't give it to you. But you got to give them a good reason, a business plan, how they're going to get paid back, etc. But between yourself and friends and family, that is probably the best way to get the initial funding. And after a year or so, go for an SBA loan. They're quite frankly, the easiest and the cheapest to get is going for an SBA loan unless you just have the cash after you have been in business for a year plus. And so that's basically what I would tell people to do. As for myself, I did self-fund, but at the same time, now I've done an SBA loan because I decided, why continue using all my own money? And it's cheap, especially some of the ones for the pandemic. Any business owner in the pandemic, and most business owners know this already, but between the PPP loans and between the EIDL loans, the EIDL loan is a great loan. You can get up around $100,000 and 30 years, less than a $300 a month, a little over a $300 a month payment. You can't get money cheaper than that. You got to take advantage of those opportunities. So I would tell you right now, during the pandemic, make sure you're getting your PPP loans, and you're doing, most business owners are, but some are not. Do your PPP loans, whether you're have a company, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're 1099 or whatever. You want to get your PPP loans, and you want to get your EIDL loans. Those, and I'm not sure with this latest round, they're going to have the EIDL loans. They had them in the first round, but I believe even if they don't have them right now, with what Biden is proposing, they will be coming back, the EIDL. But the PPP loan is available right now. And you want to make sure, as a business owner, whether you would have had to have been in business since at least the beginning of last year, you want to make sure you go for it. Whether you're a solo practitioner of some type of business or a 1099 and it's just you want to go for it.
Let's shift gears for a moment and reverse roles. If you conducted this interview, what is the one question you would have asked yourself? I want you to ask the question, Andrei, and answer it.
I guess probably the question I would ask right now is, okay, you told me about how you started and where you came from. What's next? Okay. So what's next for me is, quite frankly, building my brand. And that is what's next for me. Is we all know, and it's tough. I mean, I'm a small guy, Coca-Cola has a brand, Pepsi has a brand, all these major corporations, they have brands. But how do you, as a small business owner, build a brand? And you got to figure out the niche you're in, and where your potential clients will come from in the niche you're in, and build your brand inside of that bubble. And that's what I'm in the process of doing right now.
We've come to the part of our interview. It's called Fun Facts Lightning Round. I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and I'd like you to give me very quick answers. If there's something you desire not to answer, feel free to say pass. Are you ready for the Fun Facts Lightning Round?
I'm going to try.
The last movie you saw?
Something the Lord Made.
Your favorite color?
Blue.
What food you eat every week, no matter what?
Chicken and salmon.
Hit the gym or hit the couch?
I walk 5 days a week, about 3 miles each of those days.
Your favorite singer or rapper?
Old school, Diana Ross and Whitney Houston.
Your favorite dance song?
Electric Boogie with the electric slide.
Andrei, thank you so much for joining us on Black Entrepreneur Experience Podcast. Before we let you go, why don't you share with our audience the best way for them to connect with you and to do business with you, and feel free to give all your social media handles.
Okay, very quickly, office phone number is 949-222-6401. My cell phone number is 714-931-3632. My website, where you can fill out a contact me form, is hwmg-lpl.com. My email is Andrei, A-N-D, as in Deborah, R-E-I, .hall, H-A-L-L, @lpl.com.
Thank you, Andrei. That's a wrap.
Thank you.
Our guests have sent us so much swag, books, and giveaways this year. I can't wait to announce our monthly winner. So if you want exclusive content delivered right to your inbox and to enter into our monthly drawing, go to drfrancisrichards.com and subscribe to our mailing list. That's drfrancisrichards.com. drfrancisrichards.com. That's drfrancisrichards.com, and subscribe to our mailing list. We promise we will not spam you or sell your information.
Thank you for listening and subscribing to Black Entrepreneur Experience. We would love for you to leave a review and rating on iTunes and share with your friends. For show notes and more episodes, go to www.beepodcast.com. Join us next Wednesday, and remember, green is the new black. So keep your bank accounts and your business in the black.